Leftover lasagna.
Leftover lasagna.
Lasagna? No way.
It's a type of sandwich.
Some kind of gross pasta.
Leftover
Leftover
lasagna is a podcast
podcast
hosted
by
by
my
Nitin
chacha.
Sundar and Tony Uncle. Leftover lasagna.
Very funny name.
Hello and welcome to Leftover Lasagna, the podcast that serves as a diversion. A diversion that's much better than the dry version of a mundane life. And considering the weather right now, also better than the wet version. That's right, this is the podcast that is Goldilocks' choice. Goldilocks, of course, ended up having an adventure because of the diversion she took. And while some might call it a dangerous escapade, it is also the only story about her that we know. And what is life without a story? In the words of the dude Lebowski, some days you eat the bear, and some days, well, the bear eats you. I am Tony, and bearing with me as always, the one they call Daddy Bear. Say hi, Nitin Sundar.
Hi, hello, good morning. What they actually say is you begin the day by eating the frog, right?
Correct. This is true.
Do you know what that means?
I know, but for our dear listeners,
You start your day by eating a frog because it's good to start your day with high protein diet. That is the reason.
we have jumped the frog. Okay. So the actual thing is basically you do the hardest thing of the day
Yeah.
first, so it's over.
Which is inevitably true anyway, because waking up is the hardest thing that you will do all day.
That's true. Have you eaten frog?
I think, no, I don't think I've eaten frog. Have you eaten frog?
Yeah. Frog legs were like, in Kerala, they were considered medicinal, especially for like this thing called whooping cough. In Malayalam, it's
Whooping
actually
cough.
called villain cough. Villain chama. Yeah, but whooping cough,
Oh.
the supposed remedy is frog legs. So yeah, I've eaten my share of frog legs. Yeah, but yeah, they're nice and protein rich, like not too much. It's small also, yeah.
But why do you restrict yourself to the frog legs on that difficult day? Because it was leg day. Is it? Why not the rest of the frog?
I don't know. Yeah, this is a good question. I don't know. I don't think we eat the rest of the frog, only the legs for some reason. Yeah. Discrimination. Yeah. Very, very.
Okay. Coming back to
Yeah.
Goldilocks, like what is the Goldilocks story? Is that the one with the bears?
Frog has two parts. One is leg, the other is off-putting. So
Prince.
off.
Oh.
Yes. So you don't need that.
Goldilocks is the one with the
Goldilocks is
three
the one in
bears.
the middle. Frog has leg and off. Goldilocks middle.
Middle. Okay. All right.
You don't know the Goldilocks story?
I think I am, probably aware of it. Yeah. It's the one with the bears. The bears were sleeping.
Yeah. She wandered into a cottage where three bears used to stay, and then there was like she was hungry, so there was like three bowls of porridge. One was too hot,
Correct.
one was too cold, one was just right. And she went to sleep in the bed, and then one bed was too big and one bed was too small, and the other was just right, or too hard, too soft, and just right, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time she's sleeping, the three bears come in, and she jumps out and escapes and runs away.
Okay.
Yeah.
Goldilocks actually feels like the story of Indian citizens right now, right? Because you always think that you have many choices, but one will be too good, one will be too bad. And so you settle for the one that is just right. So
Anyway, we're getting distracted from the topic of the day, which you very kindly brought to us, Nitin Sundar. Which is what?
The topic of the day is surviving the distractions of the 21st century. And Tony's response to this topic was, yes, let's talk about this. I don't think distractions is a big deal anyway. So tell me, Tony, how many times have you scrolled through Instagram today?
Oh, yeah, several. I don't know, 15? I lost track, actually. I don't
15, get out. That was you eating the frog before you got out of bed. I'm asking about the whole day. 15.
As in 15 sessions, 15 separate times. I opened Instagram and scrolled.
Okay, I think you're massively underestimating the number of times you might have opened.
Actually, one thing that has happened since the last time that we recorded is that we will see that our views on this episode suddenly skyrocket because YouTube has changed its view count algorithm. So now if even 1 second of the video has played, even if it's autoplay,
Okay.
it'll count as a view. So this
This
is
is the
great
moment
for
of reckoning, Tony, because our views will still not go up.
So you remember when Hotstar was taken over by Jio, and then they
Correct.
changed
Yeah.
view mix.
7.8, 75 crore viewers watching right now. Something like that.
No, tell us what happened. What was it before and what was it later?
Nothing. They claim to be showing you the number of people currently watching something live. But
Yeah.
what they're
So
actually doing is
Hotstar used
counting
to
all the
show
people.
concurrent viewers because they used
Correct.
to be
Actual
like the
concurrent viewers.
broadcasters, and
Yeah.
Jio just shows the total
Total number
of
of people who logged in at some point during the day to
Yeah.
and
not
they're
even the
probably
total number
inflating
of
that
people.
number
Like if
also.
you
Yeah.
logged in twice, it would show you as 2 views maybe.
Correct. Yeah. Even if you're not actually viewing it at that point in time.
So therefore, the Instagram viewing thing is also like you can claim whatever you want to. It's okay.
You can play. But I know you.
So tell us why did you think of this topic as being important?
I mean, we are living through a time where what was considered to be concentration or the ability to do deep work or go deep into sessions or just the ability to sit and be with yourself without a distraction is how we grew up, right? When we were kids, we would reread the same book again and again or rewatch the same movie again and again because that's all we had, right?
Not by choice, because there was no other choice. Like
because there was nothing else, right? And so but it's not like we were forcing ourselves to, it's not like we were bored by rereading those same books or rewatching those same movies. We actually did it with a lot of joy and intentionality. And
I was very
of
bored.
course, definitely. No, that you even now are. So you're kept out of this discussion anyway. I'm talking about the average person.
Oh,
Right?
okay. 50% of this podcast is kept out of it.
Yeah. No, so having grown up through an era that was like that to now raising kids who are growing up in a very, very different world, while also watching our parents who are sitting with their mobile phones most of the time, scrolling mindlessly through, Facebook or YouTube or whatever that is, while also dealing with our own experience with tech, right? The number of times we reach out for our phone to look at something which might not really be adding any value to anyone, but it's just become like a fidget that we go to all the time.
Yeah.
Right? So there's definitely some amount of brain rewiring that we have experienced. Our generations before and after us are also experiencing at the same time. We, of course, are the cusp generation, which sort of grew up at a time when it was. We've seen our parents and our kids, or rather, let me put it this way: we've seen our parents as very different people, and we've seen ourselves as very different people as well to what we are now, which is probably not as true for any other generation as it is for us at the moment.
Yeah.
And we are raising children through this era, right? So it is a question that I ask. I don't know if the rewiring of the brain is for the better or for the worse, or if anything is of any value anyway. So that question is anyway there.
Muddy wins roll over play ball.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So I don't know, but definitely the chemistry is changing, right? And the way we go about and structure our
generation
day.
question, is an episode that we need to do at some point later. Because
next episode planning is started. We are so distracted during this podcast episode that we are always thinking about what we should record in the next episode. This is
one second. Hello.
We are unable to record in the moment. Forget living in the moment. Yeah.
As I stated in the very considered intro, any person who is listening to Leftover Lasagna is necessarily wanting a distraction from life.
From
which is
something.
anyway from something.
Their brains have also been rewired.
So if a tree falls in a forest and no one's around to listen to it, so it doesn't matter. All our listeners by default.
True. No, I'm not worried about the listeners. I'm worrying about myself and yourself. I want to have this
so the generation question is that till about a month ago, I was very confident and cocky saying like generations have evolved till millennials and it's all downhill from here, because like studies have shown that Gen Z is like the first generation to be less intelligent than millennials. They're also having less sex apparently and stuff like that, right? And then suddenly like this whole wave of CJP and everything happened. And I was like, wait, and suddenly millennials are the ones who are like accused of being the worst generation ever, right? Like
And they
boomers
have
actually
taken
fought,
fixing that.
like actually created all the development, and Gen X did whatever they did, and millennials basically shirked their duty and went after money and stuff like that, right? And I was thinking, like, wait, I mean, and then like Zoran Mamdani is
Are
doing
we the
one.
bad people?
Are we the bad guys? And Zoran Mamdani is doing cool stuff every other day. Now there are new guys, Abdul El Sayed. Like the thing was, I was like, okay, who did we have as millennial? And we had Justin Trudeau and Jacinda Ardern. Okay, Justin Trudeau, whose claim to fame is that he wore cool socks and then did nothing in Canada. And now his employment, I think on LinkedIn or Instagram or something, he's put as Katy Perry's boyfriend. Okay, so this is like, and then Jacinda Ardern, whose claim to fame was that she was the Prime Minister of New Zealand and had a kid while in office. Basically fucked off from New Zealand and is living in Australia now. Okay, this is our generation. Like,
But that's what all New Zealanders do, no?
no, but imagine the level of distraction you're saying is for our children and stuff like that. Whereas our own millennials are the ones who are like seriously, sincerely running for office to change country and then completely abandons it and moves away. I would assume it is like 81 to 96. Anyone born between 81 and 96? Possibly. Just a
Very
millennial.
good. Oh, by the way, I'm bang in the middle. See the jersey I'm wearing. 92 World Cup jersey. So.
Okay, very good. No,
and look at
but
you,
sorry,
you're like wearing some holiday shirt. You come back from holiday and you're still in holiday mode.
from
So
Thailand.
exactly
yeah,
what you're talking about. Yeah. This is what this millennial is good for this only.
So there are like multiple parts to it, right? And I think you're basically saying that the fundamental position is that there are too many distractions right now, and there is a value judgment to it. It is bad.
Yeah, there is a value judgment to it. But even if we leave aside the value judgment, right? I'm by the way not even positioning our generation as the. I'm just positioning our generation as the one that got to witness. that got to witness the cusp, so to speak. And leaving aside the value judgment of what these distractions are doing or what they mean, etc. I want to have a discourse on what you think they're doing to us, because they're definitely doing something to us, right? Years ago, people spoke about this phantom phone thing, right, where people think the phone is in their pocket even when it is not there.
Yeah.
Things like that are actually got normalized. No, we don't even talk about it anymore. It's so much so. Imagine the amount of time we spend wearing earphones, right, for instance. And there is fair amount of scientific evidence that is concerned about the impact that something like that has on our ears, on our brains, and generally on our well-being. But we just embraced some of these things in spite of knowing that, there was a time when we didn't have to live with all these things. So it's, our kids, for instance, don't have an excuse because they were brought into a world that already was like this, right? So you can't really blame them. Our parents' generation, again, are in the fag end, so they'll be like, whatever, go right into the sunset in style. We are the ones who have consciously made this choice to say, hey, I'm here for the dopamine, bring it on. I don't care, right?
Actually, one quick response before I go into the actual one is that during the whole CJP protest, the one memorable line that stuck with me and which actually gave me tremendous hope is that
Sonam, it's over, bro.
No. Kaniz Zurka used to do this series where she'd speak in Hindi reels, okay? And she doesn't speak, she speaks Hindi worse than you and I. So you can imagine how that is. So she's like telling the Gen Zs, फ्यूचर आप लोगों का ही है, बूमर्स कुछ नहीं है, 10 साल में मर जाएंगे सब, 10 साल में मर जाएंगे सब.
Correct.
Boomer generation, which is
you'll be rid of this scourge in 10 years. So,
in general, like bigotry does not seem to be a thing for the new generation, right? So, okay, putting that aside, so my counter to you,
give them time. Leave bigotry. See, I don't know. There's not enough demonstrated evidence of their existence.
Bigotry yet.
They'll get there.
They will be God.
You're You're talking about Justin Trudeau and Jacinda Ardern with the benefit of hindsight, right? So years back,
true.
you'd have spoken the same way about
Hmm.
the way you're talking about Mamdani now. You'd have people would have spoken about Al Gore, for instance. Right?
Kejriwal.
What is the point? Kejriwal, exactly. So give Gen Z a chance to shine before you.
Okay, fine. No, so the
Yeah.
counter is, okay, leaving aside the generational argument, right? Is that there is this quote, which is obviously not necessarily scientifically accurate, which says you are the average of the 5 people you talk to the most, right? While the internet and the phone also gives distractions, for me at least, the 5 people that I spent the most amount of time with um, intellectually or having conversations with are definitely people I've met on the internet, including you. I would say 4 out of 5 people I've met on the internet. And therefore, it begs the question, right? To me, it is a massive plus, right? The internet has expanded my circles like nothing before it, right? So if
So-
I even consider the sojourn of me getting into like cryptic crossword setting, I would never have been able to do it if the internet didn't exist, right? Or for that matter, if Orkut didn't exist, which was basically, you could have thought of it as a diversion at that point, right?
Yeah.
Um, in the
No, which
same
is
way,
fair. See, I'm not, this is not a value judgment on the internet. I think
correct.
it's also silly to get into the discussion. I think broadly, what you're saying is right. The internet is a force for the good. Tech is a force for the good only. The point is, while 99 out of 100 things about it are good, our brains are also wired to go for that 1 out of 100, which probably is not so good, right? And that's the thing I'm really questioning more than it's not a referendum on whether the internet is required, whether we need to become Luddites, go back to the dark ages, switch off our phones. I don't think any of that makes sense, right? In the absence
Yeah.
of it. So,
So your
yeah.
your argument is therefore, like, while there are these things that are given, you still have a hangover of that leaking out into your real life
Yeah.
and causing disruption in either your real life relationships or work or productivity or
Yeah.
well-being.
Simple thing, no, if you're trying to sit and read a book, for instance, I know
Right.
how many pages I could go through at one shot
Yeah.
as a kid.
Mm.
Even a book that I'm really enjoying, right?
Yeah.
I definitely take breaks a lot more frequently than I used to from reading. And it's not like a considered break, a break for water order. It's a break to take your phone out and see what nonsense is going on WhatsApp.
Yeah.
And it's not a break that is really required
Is that a bad
or
thing?
valued. I don't know. You tell me. Do I really need to take a break from reading every 5 minutes? In reality, 3 minutes, but okay, let's go with 5. I mean, is that something that I cannot do without? And if I do need it every single time for some kind of dopamine kick, what does that say about what really is happening to me? Forget what it says about me, etc. The fact that we've normalized this
Yeah.
need to look at that screen every now and then. That's where I'm
Yeah, I
coming
think
from. Yeah.
so the way to sort of go into a little bit more depth is 50% of leftover lasagna has been to a Vipassana retreat, right? Or like a 10-day with that was not me. So why don't you relate that experience? What did that do for you?
Oh wow! I don't know. Have you spoken about my Vipassana experience on this
I don't
podcast
think you're
before?
allowed to speak during that. The first rule of Vipassana is you don't speak during Vipassana.
Yeah, so I know that was start of. It's been like more than 2 years now since the Vipassana
Yeah.
experience. And it's obviously it's supposed to be a 10-day experience that changes your baseline, changes the way you think about yourself and the way you meditate and relate to yourself in the world and all of that. For me, it was a 10-day experience that ended at the end of the 10th day, and out of sheer force of willpower, I managed to survive through those 10 days. And so, for people who don't know what happens in Vipassana, you go to a kind of a secluded place with a bunch of other people who are practicing the same thing. You don't have any access to tech, obviously, right? So you give up your phone when you go in. You also give up your smartwatch if it is something that has any kind of connection to the internet. You don't have access to earphones. You don't even have access to books, for instance. You can't write during Vipassana. You can't read during Vipassana. You obviously can't watch any TV during the time. You can't listen to music, etc. And of course, you're not allowed to speak either. For 10 days, you're actually not supposed to speak. The only thing you're doing is many hours of meditation broken up in chunks and a few hours of chanting or sitting through discourses that are conducted, that are actually pre-recorded discourses from the person who actually founded this movement. And and it's a profound experience for a lot of people. They actually go through very, very path-breaking kind of experiences when they go through Vipassana. There are people who keep going back to it. They're able to connect with their body and mind in a way that they were never able to before, and they find some quantum of inner peace and
What about you?
satisfaction. So then coming to me, so I told myself once I went in that I will force myself to sit through the experience and go through it the way it is intended to be, whatever happens, and not leave, right? And I'd not try to hack it. It's not like I was carrying a contraband access to phones or whatever. Also, the food that you're served is very simple and it's a very basic menu that is repeated every day. You go to bed early, you wake up early for meditation and so on. So your entire lifestyle changes. You're not allowed to do any kind of physical exercise outside of walking. And I think depending on the center that you go to, you may or you may not even have access to a good space to walk in, because you're not allowed to leave the building or leave the premises where it is being held, etc. I figured out the first couple of days are the hardest because your body is also getting used to sitting whatever Padmasana for so many hours together. So, and if you have tight hamstrings and a weak lower back, etc., then you also start facing other problems. Which, by the way, is also supposed to be the body. It's part of the experience. Apparently, the moment you put your body through this kind of an experience, your body tries to revolt. Right. So a lot of the pain apparently is also psychosomatic. And if you're able to fight through it in the first 3 or 4 days, you'll notice that some of these aches actually go away by the 4th or 5th day. Didn't happen to me. My pain only got worse with every passing day. But leaving that aside, I figured out that the only way I was going to survive through these 10 days beyond a point was to come up with some way to distract myself through these many hours. When you're just
Did you
sitting,
say distract?
right? Yeah, I did. And guess how I distracted myself and how I actually managed to get through those many hours and many days when nothing was happening.
You replayed Kamala Hassan movies in your mind.
You're close there. I started humming songs in my mind. And I think I probably went through 1,000 songs over the course of that thing. But you also need to start somewhere, right? Like, how do you start a song? What if the songs start repeating? You can't just put shuffle. There's no point in repeating a song. So then I started doing thematic. I started doing Harris Jairaj from the late 90s, early 2000s, A.R. Rahman, Golden Face, Rahman, SPB songs with A.R. Rahman. And I started doing English music, Michael Jackson's greatest hits. All the songs that I've ever heard and that I remembered, I was humming in the back of my mind with my eyes closed. And I'm supposed to be meditating because I wasn't able to achieve any breakthrough in my meditation. I think the reasons are obvious because I was playing songs in my head. But I came out of Vipassana and I was quite happy that it ended when it ended. I remember the last 2 or 3 days are a really big slog. You know that you're reaching the finish line, but somehow it just seems to be getting slower and slower. The last hour is literally the hardest hour of the experience and so on.
You didn't find any difference in the two states. One was like supposedly deep focus versus the other is modern life.
No, I did. No, wait, what do you mean? I did find the difference. One was easy, one was not. Which part of that was not clear?
So what is the benefit of not being distracted in modern life is what I'm asking.
I don't know. I'm not saying that I'm better or worse.
So here's the thing, right? Is that there is a lot of unnecessary sexiness attached to
focus,
disciplined normative behaviors, right? Like for instance, why is waking up early considered better than working late at night, right? Like what if I go to sleep at 3 a.m. and I wake up at 2 p.m.? How does it matter to anyone? But in general, society plays a value judgment saying waking up early is everything. Like you have to see the morning light, that this and all, right? Some pseudoscience still put around it saying you have to see the sun
circadian.
early.
Yeah.
Immediately put haldi in water, warm water, and drink it. Only then you'll be okay. And as a person with ADHD, there are like several behaviors that are just normalized, saying that this is how everyone should be, right? And obviously there is 100% no value in that. You asked me like last week why I want to hear more of Sidin. Actually, when we record the episode simplified, is the time that he said, like, he was talking about the writing process and saying how it's absolute bullshit. And
Huh.
in one sentence, he actually opened up some avenue in my mind for me, where he said, like, it is much easier for you to hack the environment around you than it is
Hmm.
for you to hack your own brain, right? So whatever works for you
Yeah,
works
yeah,
for
yeah.
you.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and I think that was like a very well put thing that applies to multiple things, right? So there is an unnecessary value judgment on things that are, I don't
By the way,
know,
this is true of Vipassana also, no? So
yeah,
the first thing you do before you get into the process is to hack the environment, because unless you need to get into
ah,
that place and put away all your
right,
stuff before you can actually
yeah,
start going deeper. So yeah, what?
yeah, correct. No, so I mean, essentially the question then becomes like, what is the trade off, right? Like, if it were the case that there is some great benefit in not being distracted, I assume like you would have heard about it already, right? Which is what people say, like there is deep work and productivity and that and this and the other. But then, like, my counter to that is productivity in of itself is actually the distraction from life, right? Because what essentially happens is you put a score to everything, saying that
Yeah,
um, if you want to succeed at life, you need to do these things by X age. You need to sort of advance your career in the sense that you need to earn a certain amount or have some kind of title or um, continue to, function in that rat race, which doesn't have an endpoint. Meanwhile, you move away from your parents. Your kids are being looked after by other people who are not yourself, and life itself passes you by, right? And like, in general, it is considered very ennobling if you are like a father or a mother who's working, I don't know, 14 hours a day, 6 days a week, saying they are providers and stuff like that, right? So,
So, but I get your argument, and I
correct.
side with you on this, because the argument that you're putting forth is the social contract, or those commentary around dedication and focus and the sexification of it, which
Yeah,
you're, I think, to an extent rightly pointing out is meaningless bullshit, because it is performative to some extent, and it is some kind of yardstick that you set for the world so that people can run against it, and then you can have a totem pole of sorts. Right? It just
correct.
happens to be that this is the one that we have chosen and agreed is important, or whatever. But let's leave aside the social contract to it, right? Or just the fact that some people participate in this performativeness, if nothing else, just because they need to get ahead of others. I think it's broadly true for most of us that the very reason
Yeah,
we get into rat races and agree to be disciplined or be hardworking or be smarter is because
yeah. I mean, we've
society
all
tends to
wanted to
reward
get
you
into
more.
IIT at some point in time, right? You and I
Correct. Yeah,
both. Yeah,
because of the way society fairly or unfairly rewards you for that. And if
yeah,
society were instead, as Amit Verma said, was using the ability to swim as the yardstick to get into IITs, we'd have all tried and been good at that,
yeah,
as opposed to whatever else.
yeah.
That I get, and I completely agree. Let's keep that on one side for the moment, right? Let's look
Yeah.
back at the
No, so
history of
the
human.
underlying point there is that therefore the
uh,
normative definition of
hmm,
the value of not being distracted is not fully something that I buy, right?
I agree.
Because
Yeah, and me neither.
yeah, you're
Ah,
expected to be distracted, right? Like the thing that the other podcast that we have is essentially a celebration of sport or cricket, which is nothing but a diversion from life itself, right? As much as you
hmm,
say test match reflects life and stuff like that, it is meant to be a distraction or a diversion from what you do, right? And
yeah.
diversions is basically where you find the most amount of reflection of your life, right? Whether that is art, whether that is cinema, whether that is sport. No, so that's what I'm saying. I'm questioning the normative definition of
No, that's
distraction.
fine. I think we are both on the same side on that one, right?
Yeah,
So I agree with you. That's all bullshit, right? But let's go back to let's look at how the human race has evolved over
yeah,
many millennia, and look at all the various people who over the centuries have achieved something of importance, significance, whatever that may be. You can start with artists or sports people, which probably are the ones that speak to us most easily. Or look at people who actually made breakthroughs in science or math or technology. In every single of these aspects, right, the people who actually made the breakthroughs got there because of their ability to be focused and not distracted at whatever they were pursuing.
Fair.
Right?
Yeah.
None of the advancements of civilization happened by accident
Correct.
or happened because somebody accidentally found out something, right? Even if you say someone like Alexander Fleming discovering penicillin happened
Yeah.
accidentally, it happened because he was putting so many hours and hours and hours of working with petri dishes and germs and
Sure.
whatnot.
Yeah.
That a happy coincidence happened. So, and that for me, rather than the social contract of rat race and totem pole, is the argument in favor of trying to not be distracted in life or trying to get more focus into the way you go about life.
Agree. Now there are two parts to this. Okay. One is that necessarily to be someone of note, you have to be in the statistically smaller section of the population, right? You have to be like either the top 1% or max top 10% for it to be newsworthy or whatever, right? Which means effectively you are fighting a battle where 90% of the people are not going to be that, right? So is there really a value in trying to be like the greatest artist or the greatest scientist or the greatest X or Y or Z, right? Is sports person, for example, right? Like it doesn't mean that if you don't achieve X or Y or Z, you're a failure, right? And therefore, like you should give up on life. So that itself is problematic, right? Because there is an inherent survivorship bias to how we sort of view ourselves in the future, right?
No, so the counter to that would be what we are seeing is the sample the way it played out, right?
Correct.
Which is a 5% or whatever your number is of excellent people doing excellent things.
Correct.
If instead of 5%, if 20% of the people were doing excellent things, we might have gotten here much faster.
No, then it wouldn't be called excellent. No, the definition is, see, the whole point is that excellence by definition has to be statistically smaller,
See,
right? Otherwise you wouldn't
penicillin
aspire
was
for it.
excellent. Regardless of when it was discovered, penicillin was excellent.
No.
Right?
So
If
then
more people were
oh, hold on. Then you're saying that effort and outcome are actually like completely correlated, right? That's not necessarily the case also, right? More often
no.
than
It is pure probability, no? It's purely statistical. If
pure
there are
chance, not probability, it's just pure chance.
not chance. So then you're saying Fleming discovered penicillin by chance.
Yeah,
I'm saying
it
no.
was an accident, no?
That's exactly what I was saying. He created the environment for the accident to happen because he was sitting there and working with petri dishes and germs. My point is, instead of just him, if there were, for every Alexander Fleming, there were 100 others with the same amount of drive and focus.
No, but the serendipity happened because he got distracted and left it without clicking.
Instagram to the rescue. Oh my God, you win this argument. Yes, yeah.
I agree with that. So the point therefore is like, if there is, by definition, only top 5% of any field is considered excellent, then striving towards it and beating yourself up for not being the top 5% of something is like a terrible way to live, right? You could still say that I still want to be the best version of this for me because I find meaning in writing, right? I'm not writing to be the greatest writer in the world, but I think it is important for me for myself to do it, right?
I'm also saying that only. There is no guarantee that you will be in that 5%. But if you're not creating the environment for it or hacking the environment, as you would say, in order to take a shot at it, then what's even the point?
Yeah,
whether you get there or not is immaterial. You mostly
with the not top 5% of the people. You're therefore saying that for another maybe 25-30%, it makes sense to find ways to avoid distractions and therefore there is tremendous value in it, right? I agree. I mean, probably, right? But is that inherently better than being distracted all your life? I'm not so sure, right? Meaning, like the two characters I brought up in the intro are Goldilocks and you've seen The Big Lebowski, obviously, right? The dude who is basically like a bum, right? So inherently, is there challenge is that we take for granted that being productive is what life is about, right? That is what creates value in life. Whereas, since the last time we spoke, leftover lasagna listeners, I never even acknowledged that I quit my job, right? And I quit my job in a circumstance that I was not really intending to. But the first thing I felt after I quit my job was tremendous relief, right? And like, I don't
Mm.
know why. Like, it made no real sense for me. And to be honest, like, um, I talk about when I am not great mentally. Right now, I think I'm the best I've been mentally for several years together, right? I'm not saying that there is great value in quitting a job or anything. I'm just saying that you take for granted that
Yeah.
your worth or your value is judged to how productive you are, which is inherently a nation state or capitalist construct because they want to keep you as a resource, right? Which is
This
also
goes
why
back
there
to
is
the
an
social
inherent
construct,
value
yeah, which,
in
yeah,
discipline, that, this, and the other. And it shouldn't take 40 years for me to realize that you are okay as yourself, right? You deserve
yeah,
to exist, you deserve to be happy whether or not you do something productive or not, right? So I think there is too much of pressure societally, socially, to say your worth is linked to productivity, right? That I fundamentally have a disagreement with, because your own inherent happiness can come only from yourself, right? And if you
yeah.
are fighting things that you're not, then it's just like setting up for failure, right? So to me, I think there is a large section of people or humans, or at least for me, I would like to think there are other people who inherently don't feel the need to write on LinkedIn, right? saying as someone who writes on LinkedIn myself, is that why is productivity important? Why can't you be distracted your entire life and be, if you're happy about it, how does it matter?
If everyone did that, there would be no penicillin. That's all. That is my only point.
So the people who are going to do it will anyway do it, no?
They won't know. See,
Why?
that is the problem with, that is the thing where you end up. This is my argument against your universal basic income will take over and jobs will be irrelevant. It's the same point. Because we as a species will very quickly revert to the, or rather, settle down at the glorious bottom of the pyramid, like the lowest common
Yeah.
denominator. Will
Yeah.
decide where everything will go, right? If money ceases to have its value, and it will cease to have its value the day universal basic income becomes a thing, then
Right.
you will not. Then even the trillionaires are not going to go. Even Elon Musk will stop being the idiot that he is.
Oh no, but
You
Elon
know,
Musk is the first guy saying that money won't have any value.
no, that's what he will say
Right.
now, right? Like, but
Okay.
he will. So Elon Musk also, like, forget Elon Musk. Let's actually talk about, I don't know, Andrej Karpathy or whoever, right? Smartest guy.
I agree with you.
Yeah,
Why do developed nations need immigrants, right? Because they are willing to work harder than people who are
correct,
already there for a lower
correct,
amount of money, because for them the trade-off is different, right? Whether
exactly. So
that
the
is
arbitrage is there.
in
UBI will take away all kinds of arbitrage.
people coming from northeast to Kerala to find work,
Yeah,
is that there is tremendous arbitrage. So,
absolutely. So
okay,
the day you have universal basic income
yeah,
and people don't have to work, so people don't have to
mm,
pay with their time
yeah,
in order to eat. Like, that's
right,
what is employment? It's basically you pay with your lifespan in order to be able to eat. Right?
yeah.
That's work contract basically. The day that goes away, right? What happens after that? What is going to be produced after that? Because there is no incentive to produce anything, no, beyond that point. So what happens at that point?
No,
You,
so
in my
therefore,
opinion, there will actually be a stalling of the march of civilization will slow down at that point.
yeah,
If
but so
Yeah,
therefore the question becomes like, should you worry primarily about yourself or society, right? You're essentially stating a situation where there is a punitive action to not being productive, right? It is a coercive thing, saying that
correct,
if you don't work, then you don't get X or Y or Z, right?
correct.
Which means inherently I'm not doing what I want to do, right?
Which, by the
So
way,
if you were to
this
define,
just came to me. By the way, this just came to me. This is while human beings have changed the game and made
yeah,
it that your running to survive is something you can sit in front of a computer for 8 hours a day and do.
yeah,
This is equally true for every other species, right? Running is survival for everyone, right?
hmm,
You're either going to not get food or you're going to become food if you don't run fast enough.
No, I'll tell you the difference is that all other animals have a conception of enough, right? If your stomach is full, you don't run any longer. Humans don't have a conception of enough, which is why capitalism won over whatever forms of socialism or communism that existed, right?
Agreed.
You are
Yeah.
not running for your immediate need. You are running either to chase some happy tomorrow, which will never come because you have to get to the next rung. So there is no conception of enough. That is the difference
Correct.
between human.
Oh, okay. I'm not denying that, right? Basically, the human cognitive function helps you
Yeah.
think about things more deeply than the average animal does. The average animal is thinking about giving birth to healthy offspring or giving birth to as many offspring as possible so that if you are healthy and survive to carry
Correct.
on. That's pretty much all that gene is programmed for. Right?
Yeah.
We are able to absorb more stories and hence go after bigger or loftier goals, whatever they may
Yeah.
be.
No, so
But
okay, let me just bring it back to my reconception of Gen Z, right? The few things that we hear about Gen Z are they're very hard to work with in the workplace because they will put down boundaries very strictly. Apparently, they're having less sex than previous generations. And they do not really
by the
care
way, that's
about.
because of distractions. Huh? That's by the way because of distractions.
Yeah, true. No, but it all boils down to the fact that if they are happy being themselves, right, and they are thinking much, they have much better ways of articulating how to be healthy for themselves than any previous generation before them, at least in India, right? The other amazing thing about the whole protest that happened was that women participated almost equally, and there were very few instances where consent was violated, right? Or like people were, harassed, to put it mildly, right? Even if you have a festival like Holi, you have harassment in India, right? Which means that and they create great content as well. So as far as content and consent and everything that is related to how a human being should be, I think Gen Z is ahead of any other generation before it because they know
By
how
the
to
way,
put
not.
Yeah.
I get you. Maybe not relevant to this discussion, but in order to not to pour water on your argument, but the people you saw coming out for CJP protests were a very selected
Correct.
cross section of
Yeah.
society. You
100%.
can't hold them as the representative of all of Gen Z because
No,
you would have.
I'm saying it was counterintuitive to my understanding of Gen Z till then, right? Because we were saying that what is this generation not
But you have
interested in?
taken the 20% cream of Gen Z, which actually wants to come out for
Fair,
this
which is
protest
fair.
and
I
is
mean,
egalitarian in the way they think about themselves
yeah,
and all of
okay.
that.
I
So yeah,
mean,
sure.
like, yeah. I
You
mean,
had such low expectations of them that you thought even the 20 best of them are also useless. Okay.
I mean,
Okay.
Justin Trudeau.
इसको मत Justin Trudeau.
No, so
Dear Gen Z, don't be
what you're
discouraged by
trying to
this
say
guy.
is,
Another
okay,
10
one
years,
second.
all these boomers will be dead anyway.
Yeah. So there is this line from the movie Rond, which I keep. Basically, there's a young cop and an older cop, right? You remember the movie? They're going on patrol, and this guy, basically, the young idealistic cop, basically goes and creates a problem against some wealthy home, just following the law and stuff like that. And this guy is basically chiding the senior is chiding him in the jeep, saying, "Why do you think police exists? It is not to maintain peace and prosperity and all. It is so that the people who are wealthy do not lose their wealth from
Correct.
by the poor, right? The poor don't snatch what the wealthy have, right? So any kind of societal thing that exists is to protect the status quo, right? And the current status quo, which is funded by unabated capitalism, in the sense that there is no conception of enough, right? There is zero conception of enough, right? You can be a trillionaire and you still want more, is sort of necessarily, in my mind, putting a bias to say that the way to be better is to be productive, is to work harder, is to yearn for more. And the counterculture is Gen Z saying, look, I don't care what you think. My mental health comes first, and I want to be happy first right now, and then we'll see about the future later. That's all. That's essentially what I wanted to sort of.
That's fine. I get it. But even there again, it's a question of sample size, right? The average
So, okay.
Gen Z is probably
So
saying
let's
that.
talk about distractions of let's say Gen X or Boomers versus the distraction of Gen Z, right?
Okay.
Probably Boomers and Gen X were the generation that smoked the most, right? And probably also smoked up the most.
Interesting. Yeah.
Ours is probably a generation that drank the most, right? Ours in the previous one. And right
In India,
now,
it's
I would say
probably true.
Gen
Yes.
Z is probably not smoking or drinking as much as we do, right? Their
Drinks.
distractions, their distractions are actually relatively much less harmful, even for themselves or for society as a whole, right?
They're
So,
probably doing more substances than the prior generation.
as a function of availability, maybe, but are you saying more
Everything is
percentage of
function
the
of availability
population?
only, like even the alcohol trend that you speak about, to some extent,
Yeah.
is availability,
Why?
driven by availability. More
You
available,
saying it's
more
more
variety
expensive?
easily. No, yeah, India was not an open economy, no, until the 90s. It was much harder to get quality foreign sarak.
Yeah, I'm saying why isn't Gen Z drinking as much as millennials are, right?
They get a bigger kick out of something else.
Oh,
Drinks.
you're saying substance. No,
No, I
I,
mean,
I,
that definitely there is that awareness is there
correct.
broadly, messes up
Yeah.
the liver lesser. But but your point is interesting because I didn't think about. I mean, while we try to paint the prior generations as more noble because they were distracted less, your example actually says every generation had its own opium. Is what you're trying to say.
No, yeah, that is one. And the
Ah.
second part is obviously that there is this thing where where you say at what is it, at 20, if you're not a communist, you don't have a heart. At 40, if you're not a conservative, you don't have a brain, right? And the same reason why we said like millennials don't get out and protest is that we have something to protect. Whereas Gen Z, if you ain't got nothing, you got nothing to lose, right?
Mm.
So every societal system that exists is to protect the status quo. Uh, the vices of the upcoming generation, which are inherently created by the generations before them, are
Yeah.
much worse than what exists before, right?
Mm.
And that is why I have a huge question mark about the premise itself, saying is distraction bad, right? I mean, of course, you should protect children and try to get them to be more creative in their own ways and stuff like that. But at the same time, right, like
Yeah.
it's a complaint that is a little bit skewed. Which brings us to the question that you made initially: is that
Huh.
what about our parents scrolling mindlessly?
Yeah.
I don't
They're
know.
in the slogovers. So, I mean, slogovers, you take your shots. So, I think it's fine. Not batting like Dhoni, that one.
Yeah, no, but here's the thing, right? Like they when we were growing up, like following the news was considered important, right? Like reading the
My
Hindu
dad still
was
follows the news,
considered.
but yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, they are still the only generation that follows the news, right? And now
Correct,
if you
correct.
follow the news, you're essentially like that's much worse than any other substance abuse you can have, right? Because it's changed on its head.
Yeah, true.
Therefore, I don't know
Yeah.
how to square that.
No, I don't want to square it for them also. Actually, I want to
Yeah.
make us the heroes of this.
Okay, fine.
Of
So
this thing. And for
personally,
me, it's
your
personally about what it's doing to me and what.
yeah,
That's on. I'm still seeking the answer. I think this discourse is very interesting because we are able to see it from a more objective lens as to what it
yeah,
means, civilization, and all of that, right? But I'll come back to what it means for me personally and whether
correct.
it is okay for me to scroll through Instagram 1,500 times a day
Yeah.
when it is actually not really, it's not enriching me in any way. It is giving
I,
some kind of outlet to a certain fidget in my mind. That's happening.
so once again, so enriching essentially is basically putting a value judgment to say you need to improve yourself every minute of the day, otherwise you're not doing right by you.
No, I didn't go into every minute a day. This is the other opposite of every minute. If every minute of the day I'm sitting on Instagram and doing time pass, then actually there is zero enrichment that is happening
Okay.
through the day.
Is this podcast a distraction or meaningful creation?
Actually, yeah, that's an interesting question that you asked, right? I would say anything where you're able to single-mindedly go into an activity without feeling the need to break away from it in order to give your brain an outlet into something else and come back is fine. Even Instagram, if we were spending 3 hours at a time on Instagram watching one video, I would say that is actually a better thing than what we currently do, which is 15-second reels or whatever, right? The joy of short form video is that it can give you long sessions of short dopamine bursts,
Right.
right?
No, so
Uh,
now we are coming to
uh.
the construction, which I also agree with, is to say that in the previous instance, if you wanted to do X activity, right, whether it is writing or talking to people or whatever, or I don't know, like reading a book, listening
Yeah.
to something, you wouldn't reach out for your phone as much to do
Yeah.
that thing, right?
In the middle
But
of that thing.
now,
Yes.
for you
Yes.
versus the previous version, you're saying because you keep feeding your
Now you
brain with
plan a
this.
family dinner where people of 3 different generations come together at 8 p.m. And at 8:10 p.m., you look at them, each one of them has a device in their hand which they are ardently staring into.
Correct.
That is the question, right?
So the point, I think, becomes like, are you blaming the person for it or just general
I'm not blaming anyone for it, right? My
passage
question
of
is,
time for it?
let's
Right?
put it this way. Now, if you want to just get down to brass tacks, right? Like that it is proven, for instance, that if you spend a lot of time doing Sudoku, for instance, right, or
Yeah,
crosswords, it is activating certain neurons in your brain, which
100%.
actually is good for your long-term health because it
100%.
means your brain will
Yeah.
not deteriorate. It's a bit like going to the gym, right? So what does gym do for your body?
There
There are
is
certain
value in
activities.
doing any hard thing, right? You solving a problem actually inherently rewards you, right? So whether that is, even if you're going to the
Huh.
most mundane office, if you're solving like even like the most inane fight
That's
between
an
colleagues,
interesting
there is some
question.
value.
That's an interesting point. So then are you telling me that playing computer games, which are gamified and that give you
Yeah.
an outcome at the end of it, is actually good for you?
Right now, the
Always.
studies
Like,
show that video games are the best thing for for people, right? Like what we were told as kids was video games are terrible.
oh,
Now
really? That's what they say?
research shows that video games are great, right?
But it's again
So
insidious, no? It depends on what kind of game you're playing also. Like there are
yeah,
obviously
of
these
course.
games that are long drawn where you need to spend a lot of time, plan, plot, and get ahead. And then there are these games like your Flappy Bird or whatever. I don't even know,
Yeah.
man. I don't know what like are they good? Like if you're sitting there trying to whatever, what are the Subway Surfer or
No. Okay.
Bejeweled Blitz and all this rubbish that people used to play.
Yes. See, I mean,
Fruit Ninja,
I think
yes.
inherently what I want to say is life is rubbish, dude. Like the productivity aspect to be very minimal, right?
So
Like
should you be doing activities that will extend your lifetime into further into the future? Or
that's
that
up
fuck
to
it,
you.
I'm
It
here
doesn't
for
matter.
Fruit
I am
Ninja.
saying inherently we need to accept that life is actually rubbish. Okay. If you want to evaluate success in life, I would say
Fuck
it is
success. I
where
don't
we
care about
don't.
success.
No,
But
no, not
yeah,
success.
no.
If I want to be the best version of myself, I would say how less of the time do I need to wear a mask? And how little of the time do I need to wear underwear, right? Like, who are the people I can hang out with and comfortable enough that I can be myself, right? Like, I don't think I can be there in corporate world, right? As much as you want to say you're a maverick and stuff like that, a
that is
hierarchy.
not what Iman thinks about Inmabi at all.
Yeah, hierarchy exists, politics exists. You are playing a role, right?
Yeah.
And when it comes to acquaintances also or even family, there are certain stressors and relationships that you have to maintain. Therefore, why I said like being 40 is great is that you know that you don't need to hang out with people if you don't want to, right? So if you can choose to be anything, right? Like if you say that actually, you know what, give rubbish a chance, right? Like why is rubbish bad? Like there need to be content consumers also, not just content creators, right? And yeah, but inherently
So we are
there is
providing a
definitely
service. We are providing a service by existing. The Instagram scrollers are the audience. The noble 90%.
inherently there is a value in doing anything hard, right? And doing anything hard for you is different from it adding anything to anyone else's life, right? The best example is gym selfies that almost everyone puts out, right? It doesn't add value to anyone else's life, right? And
That is a social
in of itself,
validation. That's
yeah,
all.
but it adds tremendous value to you because you're getting stronger and you know for yourself that
The gym selfie doesn't make you stronger.
that's okay. That's just endocannabinoids acting at the end of the runner's high or whatever. So you
Yeah.
have less inhibitions and you post stuff that you otherwise wouldn't, right?
No,
Yeah.
the selfie is the reason most people end up going to the gym only. If
Oh, really?
I haven't
Okay.
posted a gym selfie, then why did I even go to the gym? Come on.
This episode brought to you by Lululemon.
The fitness is coincidental. The dopamine is what we're
Yeah.
here for.
Okay. So I don't know. Okay. So you're saying like there is a performative angle to
To
most
everything.
things. Yeah. Fair. Yeah. No, but again,
That's okay. But yeah, leave that. I'll actually ask you, like, and you know that I play a lot of frisbee, right?
correct.
The only time during the day when I actually don't feel the need to go back to my phone
Yeah.
every 10 minutes. And it's not
Correct.
like, well, I mean, obviously when you're playing, you do come out, you take breaks, right? Like you're not playing like for 2.5 hours continuously. But that's the only time in the day I don't actually feel like
Correct.
wanting to go back to my phone. And I think that has something to do with the fact that I enjoy the activity so much that
Correct.
I don't feel the need for distraction. But I also feel it feeds into the fact that I'm doing that activity at a level far higher than I would have been able to do otherwise if it were something that I was doing through distractions.
Correct.
And hence my question, when we are doing something, if we are more
Yeah.
mindful about it, if that would help us do it better and help us feel better
Yeah.
about doing it better, then don't we owe it to ourselves to not be distracted when we're doing those activities at least? If we can't do it, if we can't be mindful for 24 hours a day, like we are
Yeah.
during Vipassana, but at least during the times when we truly want to devote ourselves to something. So my question to you also is there some activity like that for you? For instance, when you're setting a crossword grid, maybe, I don't know, is that time when you sit and go into deep focus work for, hours together without feeling the need to break for a distraction?
Yes. And here is no,
Yes.
but I'm giving you the
Yeah.
complete solution to life itself, right? And
Very modest.
essentially,
Go on.
the answer to life is this, right?
42.
You can either be in love with something, in which case you are irrational to the point that most other people won't get why you are so dedicated to this person or this thing or this craft. And
Correct.
you don't care because you
Yeah.
don't need them to understand why you're doing it.
Correct.
Or you have to show up for certain things and try not to get distracted because that is uh,
Rosy
the
roti.
only way to sort of go ahead in life because you
Correct.
have to define a purpose because without that life is meaningless, right? So the inherent assumption that everyone needs to be in love with something at all points in time may not necessarily happen, which means the only alternative to life is to fill it with as many distractions as possible, where you have to show up because that is the only way you will find a purpose, right? Because um, most people assume that motivation precedes action, right? But that's scientifically proven to not be true, right? You first do the action and then motivation follows, right? In the words of, who's it, Ravi Kishan, Pechan!
Who's
Money
Ravi Kishan?
follows, my brother. Oh, you're the only guy not to come across his name. Money follows, my brother. Same way, showing up happens first, motivation follows later, right? And if you can be in love with something, which for a period of time for me was cryptic crosswords, and now again when I do it, I feel the same. Maybe not the same, but like similar kind of joy, like you feel with ultimate frisbee, or it can be like being in love with one particular person or a religion or a party or a football club or anything, right? It doesn't matter. You then like your life is sorted. But otherwise, distractions is life, dude. Like, I don't think you need to fight it.
All right. Excellent. Oh,
Mic
very
drop.
good. By the way, I'm sure you come across these things, but this railing against distractions whenever any new technology comes is something that has been going on for centuries together, including when human beings first started to write, and when the printing press came about and all of that. So this is some
And
stuff.
typing.
sometime during the first century CE. By the way, what is CE? CE is BC, right? Before
Common era.
Christ.
Yeah.
Common era.
Common
So
era.
during
AD.
so the Roman philosopher Seneca the Younger was worried about new technologies degrading his ability to focus. Sometime during the first century, he complained that the multitude of books is a distraction. The concern
There are too many
reappeared.
books. There should be only one book.
Only one book should be there. This concern reappeared again and again over the next millennia. By the 12th century, the Chinese philosopher Zhou Xi saw himself living in a new age of distraction thanks to the technology of print. The reason people today read sloppily is that there are a great many printed texts.
No, there is AI slop also. That is why you read sloppily, because most of the stuff you read.
In 14th century Italy, the scholar and poet Petrarch made even stronger claims about the effects of accumulating books. Believe me, this is not nourishing the mind with literature, but killing and burying it with the weight of things, or perhaps tormenting it until, frenzied by so many matters, the mind can no longer taste anything but stares longingly at everything, like Tantalus thirsting in the midst of water.
Wow. He didn't call it literature though. Okay.
Tantalus thirsting in the midst of water. That's that. Yeah.
Thirsty.
So this is what it was. And now here we are. So now imagine, like 100 years or 200 years from now, people will look back at this time saying, people today are too distracted. They don't have enough time to watch a 15-second Instagram reel. They're only
Yeah.
here for 1 second dopamine hit. What kind of distraction is this?
Yeah, I
that's
mean,
where
so
we are.
I think, see, one doesn't preclude the other, right? Just because you like indulge in reels, or you doom scroll, or you worry about society, doesn't mean you can't do things lovingly, right? I don't think the logic is same. It is to say that in of a time and a circumstance, there will be many sort of distractions that come your way, and very few people will be able to withstand that and do stuff.
And discover
Uh,
penicillin. And hopefully they do. They continue
yeah,
doing it.
see, okay,
Yeah.
so on one side, your penicillin discoverers are there, right? But on other side, the people who avoid complete distraction and go into meditation like a Buddhist monk or whatever, they're not creating anything, right? They are basically just at peace with
Hey,
themselves. They have
Buddha
renounced
created an
everything.
entire way of life, da. What you're saying? More important than penicillin, that one. This is the founder of Vipassana that you're talking about.
Why is in like 30 years from now, people will wonder why the Dalai Lama was important at all, right? Beyond
No,
it
they
being like showing a way of life to a certain set of people who didn't value productivity at all, but they're completely content with themselves, which is good enough, right? You don't need.
I'm
you don't
okay
need
with
to
there
get-
being 10 more Dalai Lamas. Even if I take your argument as valid, and
100%.
saying that there,
No,
I'm
I
okay
am
with.
agree. I am saying
Ah.
I'd happily be a monk rather than be a.
Whatever rocks, whatever floats your boat.
I'm saying the need for avoiding distraction per se is not necessarily limited to productivity. It is that how much of yourself can you take, right? And how much of staying inside your head is okay for you. Like for some
fair point.
people, you can last 10 days in Vipassana. For others, you may not be.
If you know enough
So,
Tamil songs, anything is possible.
I mean, there is inherently a value to supposedly reading so many books, right? But I don't think reading books, the number of books you read is, again, the number gets the value, but that's not what reading a book is about, right? Or there are people who
Correct.
say I journal every day, right? Like writing dear diary every day is not the point. The point of reading is that you don't need to derive everything from first principles. People have thought about this before. Now use that springboard as the basis for your thinking and then further it for yourself, right? Like discover your own truth. I think the way things are structured, anything that gets measured gets a lot of value, right? Whether it's number of books you read, how many number of hours in a day you work and shit like that, right? How many words you write, all of that is bullshit. I think all of that is bullshit. I think the way to expand yourself in terms of thinking, whether it is by writing or whether it is by processing thought or whether it is by having conversations like this or whether it is by laughing mindlessly on WhatsApp groups, uh, is I think that's what matters. So yeah.
Lovely. Yeah, I think we are at a yes.
But we don't need to be. Yeah.
Sure. Yes, and yes.
I can see you got distracted and you were listening to the last one.
No, I listened
you-
to you. No, it was very good. Slog overs में अच्छा खेला.
Okay. And
Yeah.
so, okay, that's it was the episode 49 of Leftover Lasagna.
Oh!
If we valued numbers, the next episode would be important.
It will. And hopefully it won't be the last episode because that would make us the KL Rahul of podcasts.
On that
All right.
note,
Thank you very much for staying with us for 7 Square episode number 49. We will be back for milestone number 50 pretty soon. I don't know when, but yeah, maybe a couple of weeks. Why not? We're back on a roll now. So we'll record
Yeah.
again soon.
all right.
Yo, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.